What's up, America? Neil here from Geauga Firearms Academy. Today we're going to talk about how to actually shoot better. And as the title suggests, it's not at the range, it's in dry fire practice. But how do we do dry fire practice safely and effectively? Well, that's what we're going to go over today. Alright, although it's not necessary, these are snap caps, and they do help your dry fire practice tremendously because it opens up a whole new range of things that we can practice with. Specifically clearing malfunctions, loading magazines, tap rack drills, and all the likes. And we're going to have a video that explains exactly how to use these and how to clear malfunctions. But for now, I just want you to understand that these are called snap caps. They don't make any noise, they're reusable. The main thing with these is that they have an actual metal rim on them. There's some really cheap ones that are all plastic, and these get chewed up by your extractors and they don't last very long. So these are fairly inexpensive, $9, $10, and as long as you get them made out of aluminum, some type of metal material, these are ideal. Alright, to perform dry practice safely, the first thing we want to do is understand that we have to use, obviously, unloaded firearms. And the best way to do this is to have a room A and a room B. Room A is where we actually unload our firearm, double and triple check it. And then room B is where we actually perform our dry fire practice, whether that's a basement, garage, whatever, backyard, whatever the case is for you, okay? So here I have a already checked firearm. And again, I don't waste a whole lot of time on film going through this with you guys, but these are triple checked before we even start filming. So safety first, okay? So here I have an empty magazine and an empty firearm. This is where I would make sure in room A that this is all done properly, and then I take my unloaded firearm to room B. Super important to understand. Once you're in room B and you begin your actual practice, if you're interrupted for any reason whatsoever, phone rings, doorbell, you have to start this process all over again. Super important. Second thing when we're doing dry fire practice is that even though that we've checked our gun 3 times and we're going to be performing without any live ammo, we still want to make sure that if in fact there was a negligent discharge, that it's being fired in the safest possible area. So once again, you can go to the range and you can shoot all day long and throw lead down range. But as far as getting better, that's really not what's going to make the difference. You may improve by very small amounts, especially if you have someone there who knows what they're doing. But if you're just going to the range and shooting, odds are you're only ingraining the same bad habit over and over. So what is the habit that most, or the issue that happens with most new shooters? That's anticipation, which looks something like this. And the reason for this is very simple. Although that we're in a range in a controlled environment and nobody's shooting back at us, it's still a fairly stressful environment, especially for new shooters. The other thing is that guns going off isn't like brushing your teeth in the morning. It's a natural reaction to dislike that. There's recoil, there's gases escaping, there's sound, and so just as if I were to come up to you and go like this to your face, a natural reaction would be to flinch. And that's pretty much what happens when you go to the range to fire live rounds. Right before you go to press the trigger, your brain, which doesn't like what's about to happen, causes you to do this. It's called anticipation, okay? You'll notice anticipation at your actual target because the rounds will actually be going low left or low right, depending if you're left or right-handed. But if your shots are consistently starting to dip down, that's exactly what's happening. You as a shooter may not notice this effect because the recoil is camouflaging that. Now, you will find it when you hit a round that doesn't go off, or you are at the end of your actual rounds and you pull the trigger thinking the gun is going to go off, and then you'll really notice this big drop. Alright, so to do this effectively now that we've gone from room A to room B, what we're trying to accomplish here is a really smooth trigger pull with no movement from my muzzle. This is accomplished by the fundamentals of working that trigger, okay, trigger control. As I showed in a previous video, the 2 most important fundamentals of shooting, what I'm trying to do here is take the slack up on my trigger, where I hit that brake, or that wall rather. I'm going to incrementally just start to add more and more pressure until that shot breaks. What's important to understand here is my muzzle at no point does it dip. It's nice and smooth. And so what we're trying to accomplish in a stress-free environment, in your room B, wherever that is this nice, slow, controlled firing. We're working through all our fundamentals. So we're establishing a proper grip on the pistol. We're aligning our sights. We're focused on our front sight. We're taking up the slack in our trigger. and we're breaking our shot. Okay? Over and over and over and over again, until I have absolutely no movement whatsoever. And we may want to practice this 10, 20, 30 times. And we want to continually practice this so that when we go to the range and we take live fire rounds, rather than always doing this flinch that keeps happening, we're telling our brains that this is exactly how we want the shot to break. Each and every time, nice and smooth. And we keep working the fundamentals over and over and over. As you notice, each time that I fire, I rack the slide so that the trigger functions just like it normally would while I'm at the range, or when I'm actually firing live rounds. Very important. The other thing that provides for me is another repetition, another training repetition of racking the slide, working the controls of the firearm, so that I get accustomed to doing everything the same way each and every time. Alrighty guys, so here's what I want you guys to take away from this dry fire practice video. The main purpose of this whole process here is to achieve nice, smooth trigger pulls and to ingrain in our mind the process of pulling that trigger effectively and not flinching. Now you'll find that when you go back to the range, the first string of shots are going to be beautiful. You're going to see your improvement because the range is actually your evaluation, how well you've been practicing. However, you'll notice that the anticipation may begin to creep back in, and that's okay, it's normal. What you want to do at that point is stop the process, unload your firearm, and take some more practice shots until that muzzle is completely smooth. Because what we're doing is stopping the process in our mind and say, this is how we want to shoot, not this anticipation. And you'll be surprised if you continue to do this, how quickly you'll be able to shoot accurately and effectively, which is what we're after. So if you like this video, go ahead and subscribe and click the thumbs up if you like it. Until next time, remember, it's always better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6.